Well, another edition of In the Circle. And today we have Northern Iowa coach Ryan Jacobs with us, and busy week for Coach Jacobs. So thanks for taking a minute here or two to join us and talk a little softball.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me on.
So let's talk a little bit about the busy week. You had the three-game series with Murray State, squeezed a couple in the midweek with the Bulldogs, and then you've got another three-game set coming up here this weekend. So, how does a busy week like that kind of affect your preparation as you are heading into the back half of conference play?
Well, this is what we play for. Like this is what we do everything throughout the year for is to be able to play games and play as many as we possibly can. I mean, this is probably the most fun part of the season. I know we've still got classes going on and things like that, but like this is where, we get limited on our practice opportunities and it's just game after game after game. Um, I mean, that's what's fun. That's what's fun about it. There's not a lot of time for development, and there's not a lot of time for really fixing anything. We use the saying this week, the hay's in the barn, so we got to go to work, and that's what we have. So we're looking forward to all the great competition opportunities we have this week.
Yeah, it's kind of now learn on the fly. I mean, make adjustments in game and do what you can do with not a whole lot of time to practice. And I think one of the things when we talked earlier a couple weeks ago, you said this pitching staff that you have is a little different than what we have seen out of Northern Iowa over the last several years. And so, tell us a little bit about your arsenal of pitchers and what they bring and how they differ from pitchers in the past.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious. We've had a lot of strikeout pitchers. I mean, kids that can get swings and misses pretty much whenever they wanted to. And that's just not how we're built this year. I mean, that's just the way things go. I mean, players come and go, and you watch them develop. And I think the biggest thing is that the pitchers that we have had that were dominant, people forget about all the struggles and all the things that they went through to get to that place. They just think they are who they are, and that's not the case. So everybody's got to go through a development phase, and you know. They get 4 years to play and then they're gone. So you got to reset somehow. And, um, that's the tough part is you got to reset and go back to work and kind of start a new project. And sometimes you're lucky enough to bring somebody in that's ready to go as a freshman, but that's not always the case. And a lot of times there's an adjustment period for most players that come in from high school and travel ball to figure out how to play at this level. And so, we've got a couple of really good freshmen that are doing that. We have, a sophomore that's still trying to figure out, things because last year there just wasn't opportunities for her to get her feet wet as much because of the pitching staff that we had. And so, that's what makes it look different. They're all, working through things in their own way. And, we see a lot of great potential in all of them, obviously, or we wouldn't have recruited them. So
Mhm.
we're looking forward to going through that grind with them and that development phase and, not looking at it like it's any different than what, Sammy Hire and KP had to go through as well to get there and Anna. So.
Yeah, and they'll progress as they all do. And again, this year you've got power up and down your lineup. I think I went back and looked at your last 5 games. I think you're averaging 10 runs a game, so you're getting the run support. And but one of the other things you're doing this year that maybe you have not done in the past is steal bases. And so, talk a little bit about how that philosophy has changed for you and your team.
I would be honest and say it hasn't changed. I think nothing's really changed except for the fact that we have some really athletic kids that aren't afraid to steal a base. They're not afraid, to risk it and gamble, and we've just cut them loose. And there isn't a strategic thing behind it. It's not something we've done in the past, but I think it's kind of like we talked about with the pitching staff. It's a new group of people. And so you play to their strengths and you let them go. And We give them the green light to make a decision on their own and just play the game. And I think that's when the good things happen is when you play, recess ball, you play backyard wiffle ball, you're willing to take risks because you're just competing. And so I think, I've never claimed to be a smart person, so I like to put the decision making in the hands of the people who are actually doing the work. And I think that's the huge part to it is, I may think it's a great time to steal, but they may not feel like it's a good time to steal. So if they don't feel like it's a good time to steal, it's not going to be a good outcome. So I think putting it in their hands a little bit more to make decisions, and then obviously coaching them up into when's a good time, what's a good opportunity, pay attention to the opponent. We obviously have scouting reports, understand a little bit of maths that's involved. You have your speed, and now you have a calculation of the pitcher's speed, the catcher's pop time, accuracy, things like that, and just make good decisions. And that's what we've allowed them to do. And I think that's what's created some of that. But I would say you look at it too, and it's not just straight steals. It's a lot of opportunities that, arise within the game. It's reading dirt balls. I think a number of them are just taking advantage of, what they give us and um, reading a dirt ball and seeing it happen before it happens and taking off. And yeah, like that's an easy base if you do a good job of
Mhm.
reading it, but you have to concentrate, you have to hunt it. You can't just wait until it happens and then try to react. That's when you get thrown out. And our team's done a good job of doing that and taking pride in it.
Yeah, high softball IQ, and don't kid yourself, coach. You're a smart guy, so that
Yeah.
you wouldn't be where you are if you didn't have the good knowledge. So um, let's talk about one of your new players, one of the freshmen. I had the opportunity to see her play in high school, Skylar Benish, and you had mentioned again when we talked a couple weeks ago. She's kind of your typical Northern Iowa player. What are the traits that make her that typical Northern Iowa player?
Well, I think the one thing is we always ask, I think coaches in general, like you just want to know what you're going to get every day. And that doesn't mean by the results. That just means like, what are you going to get out of the people that show up every day? Like, are they going to be highly motivated? Are they going to be internally motivated? Do you have to externally motivate them? Do they want to win? Do they hope to win? Are they willing to do the heavy lifting without being asked? Or do you have to force them to do it? Things like that. And I think that's why I say Benny's exactly that because um, I know what I'm going to get every single day. It's going to be full out effort. It's going to be max, you know, gas pedal to the floor, um, and a commitment to be the best player she can be, a commitment to winning, um, to also understanding that she's not polished yet. She has a lot to learn. And so having that desire and dedication to learning, and not ever thinking that you got it figured out. And I think that's what makes her the perfect you and I kind of player. She's got a ton of room to grow and learn, and she knows that. And that's what made me like her in the first place was I saw this super athletic, energetic, competitive kid that wants to learn and doesn't think she's got it all figured out and doesn't think, well, my way works. So why the heck am I going to listen to you? And that's what makes her good, and that's what gives her this unbelievably high ceiling as a player.
Well, I know when I saw her in high school, very impressed. Knew you were going to get a great player, and it's just going to be fun to watch her grow each and every year. One of your seniors that is playing very well right now, Kylie Sanders. I mean, having a huge year. I think she's second in the Valley in batting average. Kind of a little bit of a turnaround, a renaissance year for her after a season ago. Talk about the turnaround for her.
I think it's not really a turnaround, and it is just the progression of, growing up. We just talked about Skylar Benish and what makes her the perfect fit for us. Well, I think you look at Kylie Sanders 4 years ago, and you're talking about the same exact scenario. It's a 4 years difference. You have more of a finished product, and you have more of all right, this is what we've started with. And Kylie is the same exact thing as Benny when it comes to how she fit the program in the first place. And I remember the first day of practice in the fall, I told Kylie, like, just get used to me telling you when you do things wrong, because that's the only way we're going to figure it out together. And she said, that's okay. That's why I came here. And right then, from that point, I knew that I had somebody that was willing to continue to learn. And so each each week, each 2 weeks in her freshman year, we were trying to add one more piece to um, what she could do from a fielding standpoint. Try one more thing that you haven't tried before. And then all of a sudden that happens and it shows up in a game. All right, let's try an on the run backhand today because we're getting beat in the hole. All right, so we try it and then she just boom, picks it up. And that's the athleticism and the competitiveness. And so we just kind of layered it as we went, of adding more skills, more skill sets, more things that, okay, could this ever happen? Yeah, it might happen once, but let's try it and try it all the time and see. So we're ready for it when it happens. And she's just been able to do that her whole career. But I think the thing that changed for Kylie the most is just the maturity of understanding that there's more than just playing in games. You need to be a leader, you need to be an example, you need to show people what it means to be a high level player. You can't just be the high level player and expect people to follow you, or you can't just focus on yourself at being the best self you can be and not be aware of the people around you. She's really dove into that. She shows up first to practice now. She shows up early and sets things up for everybody else. She grabs a freshman or a newcomer or somebody who needs it and says, "Hey, let's go early. Let's not just sit in the dugout and wait until 3 o'clock when the practice is supposed to start. Let's go early and do our own thing and do it at our own pace instead of waiting for that punch the clock kind of mentality." So I think that's what's really helped her grow and continue her confidence throughout the season.
Sounds like she's really grown into a great leader for your team. This weekend, we're kind of in the nuts and bolts of the conference season. We're on the back end of it, and you've got a big series coming up this weekend with Southern Illinois. And if you sweep, that could change some things in the standings. And so talk about just preparation going into that series and what your thoughts are on Southern Illinois.
Well, my thoughts on Southern Illinois have never changed. They're a great program. They always have been. They have the tradition. You just know what you're going to get when you play them. They're highly competitive. They're the type of people that you hate to play, but like after the game, you love to hang out with them because you're on the same kind of wavelength and you're wired the same. So there's a great amount of respect that we have for them, and there's been some great battles that we've had in the past. And but for us right now, like it's about what's in front of us today. Like I'm not thinking about like what if we sweep or what if we it's just about like what are we doing today to get better? How are we going to focus on our team? How are we going to get to be more consistent in how we compete? We obviously need better results in certain areas. So how are we going to focus on our process to get those? That's really what it is for us. We know the Valley is tough, and I don't care if you have a bunch of really good teams or you're all like, it's just always going to be good competition no matter who you play. So if you don't show up, you're going to get beat and you're going to have a bad weekend. But for us right now, it's focusing on what we're doing, our process, our priorities on a daily basis, our motivations on a daily basis, and let it play out as it may, because we know we're good enough to play with anybody. We've proved that. Sometimes our biggest opponent is ourselves. So we need to make sure that we're focused on taking care of our business, and but we know what we're up against with Southern. If we don't take care of our business, they're going to make it hurt.
Yeah, they always do it. I agree with you. They're year in and year out, you know what you're getting with Southern Illinois. It's going to be a great series to watch. It's going to be a fun finish to the end of the conference season. Not much time left, which is crazy. So good luck this weekend. We'll be watching and see how things, what the outcome will be. So thanks again, and good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.